So here's how I do pretty much all of my backgrounds. For this example, I'm going for a standard grass and sky. So the first thing I'll need is an image of some grass. I've made an effort to only use 3 stock images so you can easily use the same one. The first thing to do is isolate the grass. So by using the pen tool, by pressing P, make a path, making a rough hill shape, complete the path, right click, make selection, go down here and click the layer mask button, and now you just have the grass. And because you made a layer mask, you can go back and show and hide parts of the layer. And that's what I'm going to do with the grass brush under legacy brushes. Make sure you have legacy brushes enabled in the brush selection options here. Open the legacy brushes folder, select one of the grass brushes under default brushes. Now press F5 to open up brush settings, untick color dynamics, set your foreground color to white. And now scribbling over the edge just makes it a bit more natural transition and not so much of a clean cut from the pen tool. After isolating the grass, right click and make a smart object. So now you can start manipulating the grass. Control T for free transform, right click, warp, come here to the top for warp presets, select arc upper and drag until it looks more like a hill. Hit enter to confirm, and now that's your grass. But it's not looking as green as I want it, so I'm going to come to adjustment layers here, add a curves layer, hold Alt and hover in between the curves and the grass layers until the icon appears. Click now and the curves will only affect the grass layer. From here, make a slight S-curve to increase the brightness and contrast. Then to get rid of the yellowy color, use a selective color adjustment. Again, clip to the grass, select the yellows under the drop down and turn cyans all the way up. And cyan plus yellow is green, so it just looks more green. You can also affect the greens under the drop down and turn the magentas down, which just boosts the greens a little bit. And that's the grass sorted. Next step is the sky. So I do this in 2 parts, the first being the color. So come to the image adjustments again and add a gradient. And you can just play around with the gradient until it looks enough like a sky. Your lighter color should be towards the bottom and it should be more saturated towards the top. In this case, I just go from white at the bottom to blue at the top. Set the scale to 70 and just drag on the canvas to get the right positioning. Now you can leave the sky here or you can add some clouds for some realism. So for this, find the clouds you want to use, and considering it's a background, just make sure they're not really strong. Just some subtle soft clouds make a big difference. And to isolate the clouds, press Ctrl U and desaturate all the way. Enter, Ctrl L for levels and bring the left slider in until the sky is black and bring the right slider in until the clouds are white. Confirm with enter again and set the blending mode to screen. And now you have clouds over the top of your sky color. So far so good, but you need some sort of terrain for some context and perception of scale. So go through the same process as before: isolate, transform, and color correct. And the only thing I'm doing here for color correction is adding heavy haze to suggest distance whilst lowering contrast, just making the mountains less of an interest. Add a solid color adjustment layer, clip it to the terrain so it only affects the terrain. Set the color of this to the color of the sky, somewhere towards the top should work, and play around with the transparency until it looks pretty natural. This makes it look a bit flat, so double click the mountains layer, add a gradient overlay, make sure there's just 1 pin at the bottom here, and to get rid of pins you just drag them off the window. And make sure there's 2 pins at the top, 1 at either end of the gradient. Set the bottom pin to the color in the sky. This time it should be more towards the bottom, it should be almost white. And for the top pins, the left should be 100% opacity and the right should be 0%. Now you can see it adds to the haze effect. Before clicking OK though, you can adjust the scale and drag to get the look just like you did with the sky. You can add similar haze to the grass or whatever you have at the front, but that's personal taste. And that's how I do it. Hopefully you can apply this to all types of backgrounds you make.